It's my pleasure and privilege to see you today, Mr. Ari Kagan.
Thank you. It's mutual, Dr. Sergey Kalinteko.
So what are the topic today?
We're going to talk today, we discussed about iodine and importance for our health and why some people definitely underestimate the importance of iodine.
You know, that's very interesting because iodine is one of my favorite topics, and you know why? Because it's quite common, and what actually we think about iodine, we really don't think about something kind of, you know, like treating the disease or something like that. But in fact, it may be linked to quite simple solution to support your thyroid. And works, it's very simple. I'm sure that you have heard about low thyroid condition, right?
I've heard about iodine importance because I'm from Belarus. And in Belarus we suffered a lot from Chernobyl explosion and radiation. And the mythology among people was like, if you wanted to get treatment, you need more iodine, like even in salt and everywhere. Like you have to eat something that has more iodine, otherwise you will have thyroid cancer. That was a perception in Belarus after Chernobyl. Is it correct perception?
As far as I know, yes. As far as I know, I'm not a specialist in radiation therapy, but as far as I know, yes. And the rationale for this is because as soon as your foods or your water are contaminated with radioactive iodine, so the easiest way to get rid of this is to just push it out. Push it out by iodine supplements.
So it was not like, you know,
yeah, so
people
that was good.
Knew something.
So,
yeah?
But I'm talking about not the radiation exposure.
Yes,
I'm talking about something very simple. It's quite common condition, low thyroid.
Okay.
When a patient's thyroid does not produce enough thyroid hormones. And obviously this is extremely important because thyroid hormones are one of the most needed hormones, because as soon as it goes down, everything goes down. Heart rate goes down, weight goes up, you know, metabolism goes down, so it's quite important. Cholesterol goes up, by the way, with low thyroid.
But why people have low level of iodine? What could be the reason? They eat wrong food, because they have a lot of stress. What could be the reason?
Let me explain you why iodine is that important. Because what happens is that basically if we suspect clinically that this particular patient has low thyroid, there's not enough hormones, so we do the test, suppose the test confirms, and then the usual tactics is to supplement this particular patient with the hormone. Okay, the problem with this is because it's not that easy as you might think. And the reason for that is because we need T3 hormone, that's the working hormone, one of the most important things. But it is quite difficult to get the correct dosage because it's very action is very fast. That's why you really need to be very careful and adjusting the dose. So
You're talking about this supplement? You're talking about
No, I'm talking about the tactics. I'm talking about the tactics. So basically, as soon as, that's why thyroid T3 usually is not given. They give T4, hopefully that it will be converted into T3, and then to check the levels. That's the usual tactic how they approach this situation.
So you prescribe iodine?
No, just
no?
This is not prescriptional thing, but the rationale of this is that in order to make hormone, we need certain stuff, like iodine #1.
And this one?
This one.
Okay.
That's why if somebody is lacking hormone, the first thing I'm asking myself is, does this person have enough building materials to build this hormone? Because if he doesn't produce it, maybe she just doesn't have enough iodine. It's as simple as that.
But what could be the reason again?
Well, the reason now, why is because iodine is mostly in the sea products. And supposedly somebody like seaweeds, fish, you know, that's all this stuff. So we do not
all kinds of seafood.
Yeah, because there is a lot of iodine in seawater. And that's why what we need to do is that not every patient eats a lot of seafood products, right? Because of obvious reasons. And I understand that because nobody wants to get enough get a lot of mercury with fish. You remember, I think we discussed
Yes, you talked about mercury. Yeah.
mercury. So everybody is cautious about mercury right now, and cautious. That's why not everybody is eager to take sea products, seafood. Okay, and that's understandable. That's why they try to stay away from this, or somebody can just stick to diet, like
What about salt?
vegan diet.
Iodized salt, no?
No, I personally think that we have enough salt with food. And that's why I personally not using any. I'm not using any salt for myself
At all?
at all.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think that that's not really necessary.
So when they read iodine, it doesn't matter for you. You don't use salt, period.
No,
Even if you're
I use iodine, but I don't use salt. That's a different thing because iodine is not salt.
I understand.
Yeah, the
But-
sea salt contains iodine,
Yes, correct.
and that's very important topic. And basically, some people think that we do need to get sea salt, and the reason for that is not
Correct.
salt itself. The reason for that is microelements that are in the salt besides salt, like iodine and the rest.
Several people who I know exactly have this way of seeing it,
That's
yes.
a very, very powerful point of view. And I don't know the exact answer. What I can say is this. If the person has enough intake of potassium that can overbalance or overpower sodium, I think that small amounts of sodium, sea salt is okay.
Okay.
But only if this person has enough potassium and magnesium. Because if he doesn't, what happens is the sodium goes into the body, creates high blood pressure, etc., etc. It's a lot of problems. So that's what we don't want to do. But the tactics to overcome this is to get enough. Sodium is positively charged ion. So in order to overcome its effect and get the positive stuff from the sea salt, the only tactic I know is to supply this person with enough potassium and magnesium that are also positively charged.
Then now we need to tell our viewers what kind of food has enough magnesium, potassium, etc.
Well, that's very easy. Just potassium
For you,
foods.
yes, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why you're here. Okay. Potato is a very good source of potassium,
Okay.
but I prefer something else. I don't eat potatoes, and I prefer cucumbers, tomatoes.
Fresh or pickled?
Fresh. And that's what I do. It has a lot of potato, broccoli has a lot of stuff, and
Magnesium?
that's basically. It's a very difficult question. The reason for that is because our soil is exhausted, and we are getting about 10 times less supplements and nutrients than what we are supposed to.
So what is the solution?
The solution is just try to get the best food you can and check the levels, because I don't know exactly, because supposedly I try to eat cucumbers.
Okay.
But this cucumbers was raised on a soil that doesn't have potassium.
Okay.
So what can I do?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But the only thing I just try to do is just get enough cucumbers and tomatoes and just see the levels. That's the only solution I have. Let me give you another.
That's easy.
Yeah,
Everybody likes tomatoes and cucumbers. Everybody.
Wow, not everybody eats it every day.
But most of the people, at least in the Russian-speaking community, they love
they love it.
potatoes, tomatoes, and cucumbers. It's like, at least in the Russian-speaking community, it's that's the favorite food.
I agree with that. But we need to really increase the intake.
But when you're mentioning seafood and some other stuff, that's a different story.
Yeah, but once again, as soon as we recommend some foods, once again, it doesn't mean that it's going to work. Let me give you a very simple example. You remember when you were a kid, the time when you were a kid?
Okay.
Okay, you remember, right? Did you remember the time that your mother gave you an apple, right?
Okay.
You cut that apple and the apple just changes color, becomes brown. Do you remember?
Correct, yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And what about now? When you go to the superstore, buy the same apple, I mean not the same exactly, but the same type of apple, you cut it, doesn't change its color.
Doesn't.
No, it doesn't. You know why?
Because they use pesticides and chemical stuff, etc.
The reason for it is different. Because why an apple should change the color? Because of high iron content. So if an apple was raised on a soil which is having enough nutrients and enough iron, it should change its color as soon as you cut. But if it's raised on an exhausted soil,
it will stay.
It's not going to happen because there is just no iron in it. It's as simple as that. And when you just talk about the foods you eat, we just remember always that apple. The apple we have in the superstore is not that what your mom gave you.
So, where can I find good apples? Farms?
Well, it's an
Organic?
It's an organic doesn't mean that the soil is not exhausted.
Exactly.
Organic means that it's about 80% cleaner than the rest.
Right.
But it has nothing to do with the soil. Okay, that's the problem. I really don't know the answer, but probably the foods that are raised on a not exhausted soil, some kind of in a pristine soil, then we can probably think.
So that's why I like to buy sometimes fruits and vegetables in a place where farmers markets, in Manhattan sometimes I see in Brooklyn. But they're better quality. They're more expensive, but better quality than regular stores.
When I see farmer markets, I always ask myself a question: where it is coming from?
Are you okay?
How do you know exactly?
So you're saying they're lying?
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that I am asking myself that question. And unfortunately,
in upstate New York.
Well, maybe it's coming from the same supermarket.
You think so?
How do you know? Is there any guarantee?
Of course, nothing is guaranteed.
No guarantee. And that's why, in my understanding, what we need to do is we just can't rely on foods altogether.
So what should we do?
Just supplement. Check the levels and supplement. If I see a patient who has borderline low magnesium levels, obviously no matter what. The another thing, especially magnesium, and I'm not talking about potassium, I'm not talking sodium, but bivalent ions, they are much more difficult to absorb than ions like potassium or sodium. They are easily absorbed. But like iron, magnesium, they're kind of hard to absorb. We need a hydrochloric acid.
One second. Let me come back to clarify what you're saying. So you're saying first person should give you blood test, you do like evaluation of a patient, and then if you see something is not enough in the blood and in the system, you recommend various supplements, including iodine and everything. Correct?
That's one of the ways. That's one of the ways. Sometimes we
and it's forever. Person should forever take all of the supplements, not like one-time deal.
Listen, I take them almost every day, unless I forget. Listen, I'm not perfect, sometimes I forget, but basic stuff like zinc, potassium, sodium, selenium,
every day
needs to be taken at least once in a while, but you need to get it. Because other than that, I don't know reliable ways to do that.
But at the same time, I don't want to argue with you, you're a professional.
No, I'm not.
And you're in a good shape.
We are discussing that.
And you're in a good shape, but many people are not taking any supplements whatsoever, and they're also in a good shape.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, I see healthy people, often.
No, I mean...
I see sick people, but
what's your standard? What's your standard for healthy people?
Person is like walking fast, in a good physical shape, is not tired quickly, has no visible any problems, eats healthy food, exercise in the gym, and doesn't complain about any illnesses whatsoever.
Well, my
supplements.
One standpoint is different, because I think that we can say that this person is healthy if he lives at least until 85, 90 years old. Yeah, so when you see a healthy person, it doesn't mean that he drops dead in the next couple of minutes. That's what happens.
That's for sure.
That's what happens. And let me tell you something. If we go by the way assessing health, like looking at the person and see how good physical shape he is, I don't think it's the right way. And the reason for that is because has really a huge muscle bulk, they're not that healthy as you might think.
I'm not talking about huge muscle, but at least.
No, at least what happens is that, you know, the problem with this is that the more muscle bulk we have, the more, usually not all the time, but usually we have bigger heart because you need more power to pump the blood into the muscle, right? But the problem with this is this: the vessels of the heart, they're about the same. So as soon as the heart enlarges because of exercise or anything like that, the blood supply stays the same. So those people may be a little bit more prone to heart attack than the one who is not exercising.
That's the first time I hear such a theory. The people who do physical exercise are more inclined to get heart attack?
If I'm telling you, if the heart is enlarged because of the physical exercise. But you know, you need to get really a good definition of what kind of exercise they
No, I'm not talking about excessive. I'm not talking about going overboard. I'm talking about, I see a lot of people going to gym and becoming in better shape as a result.
Well, you know, first of all, going to a gym is not that natural as you might think. Because what they have steady level of the physical exercises, which is not natural. When you see the natural animal in Mother Nature, they just sit and look for a prey, and then when they see a prey, they just jump.
Yeah, they don't have gym. Animals don't have gym.
They don't
exercise.
What I'm trying to tell you that the way of exercising is different. They go to the peak of exercise and go back to normal. And this is extremely important because our body senses it. If it senses the low level of exercise in the gym, they consider it as nothing. Listen, that's not my point of view, by the way. That's a very common point of view. Okay, but if there is the exercise goes up and power of the exercise increases dramatically, so basically our body senses this increase dramatically. It's adjusted metabolism. So basically, if you spend in the gym at a low level of exercise, and that's a very well-known thing, that you don't burn that much calories. No?
So basically you're saying it could be useless if it's improper.
In my understanding, I don't do that.
Training.
I don't do that. And let me tell you something. Supposedly, I decide to go to the treadmill, right? What's going to happen to my knees? They're going to get used, right?
Correct.
So what happens if you use it again and again and again, much more than you need it? What will happen?
They will be trained.
Or maybe they will be destroyed.
If you go overboard.
If you walk more than you're supposed to, what will happen?
But today we have a different problem in our society. In America, a lot of people spending way too much time watching TV, sitting near computers and or doing stuff on cell phones than even walking. So maybe that's the way at least to take them away from all of this unhealthy stuff.
I usually recommend my patients a very easy way to solve this. Just do the chores. Do the chores, do shopping instead of taking automobile out the car. Just go and buy your foods or your stuff. Just do whatever chores, like go to the garden, just something, just
help your family. Help your family.
Help them. Yes, just clean your apartment. By the way, you know, I think it's a very good way instead of going to the gym. You know. And I don't know if you help your wife to clean your apartment. If you do, you're good. But if you don't and you go to the gym instead, probably your wife would be very grateful to you if you go instead of going to the gym, you clean your apartment.
We're not talking about me. I hope so. I'm doing some chores. I'm helping with shopping. Don't worry. No, I'm okay with my wife. You, yeah. I'm trying to make my wife happy. That's very important.
That's a very good way. That's what I'm saying. That everybody should follow this way. Help your wife.
Or your husband, or your husband,
or your husband,
or yourself,
or yourself. Yeah, help. You know, help, and it's going to be much more productive than going to the gym and spend money and everything.
But let's come back to iodine. So we still have to explain why it's so important.
We do that very simple way. So as soon as somebody is low on thyroid hormone, the first thing I ask myself is, do this person have enough iodine to reduce thyroid hormone? And the easiest way to decide is to just give him iodine supplements. It's cheap, fast, and very well researched. So just recheck the levels.
It's like one pill a day, 2 pills
one
a day.
Pill a day, yeah. The thing is,
Michelle, this is Iodine super. Why it's super? By the
Why
way?
it's super? Because it's a very
Is it
simple
super?
thing. Because, first of all, it's super because I'm taking it.
Ah, okay.
Just kidding, yeah. Okay, so what we do, we included selenium supplement in it.
What is
So
it?
if because in order to produce the hormone, you don't need you need iodine, but you need selenium as well.
Okay.
Okay, and that's why we included selenium in this supplement in order to make the process easier. So because if somebody takes iodine only and this person is lacking selenium, then it's not going to be working.
So, but how many times? One pill a day, two
One
pills
pill
a
a day,
day?
yeah, one pill a day is good. Because, see, you're not going to take, nobody's perfect, okay? Nobody's going to take supplement every day. But I routinely give my patients iodine, and the reason very simple, because you want to make sure that your thyroid is working efficiently.
When you say routinely, you mean this is very popular stuff, correct?
Yes, that's one of the best selling, okay? And that's why it's very important, because we want to make sure that thyroid is working properly, and the easiest way is let's make your make life of your body easier. Let's help your body. Just give the necessary stuff,
So-
and that's why if you can't demand that somebody is working efficiently without having any food, right? You need to feed this person in order for him to work efficiently. The same thing. Feed your thyroid first. Feed it, and instead of pushing it with the drugs or whatever it is, but that's, I think, the right way to go.
So what kind of diseases or problems person should have in order for you to recommend this to the patient?
The only condition when we have this is that when there is not enough nutrients. Because there is a lot of other conditions when even though this person is having enough iodine, he still cannot produce the hormone, or he can produce the hormone, but hormone is not working because the receptor side is.
How do you know, like for example, that hormones are not working? How it is possible to check?
Oh, it's very easy, because see, if we have clinical suspicion that the thyroid is not working, we confirm, we give iodine and recheck the levels, or the listen, the person will tell you right away, about how he feels. If iodine,
person feel tired.
yes, he will feel better right away.
Okay.
It's easiest and fastest way, because if you give thyroid hormone, you need to wait for 6 weeks to check it. And let me tell you one more thing. When we give thyroid hormone, we want to be cautious to not to be on the overside. And we give if we give iodine, most of the time, not all the time. Some conditions we can give iodine safely, but most of the time we can. And we are not really bothered with overdose. Not all the time, because some conditions we can overdose iodine. But in most of the time, we don't bother with this.
And one pill, how many milligram in one pill?
It's about 10,000 micrograms.
So like let me do it in milligram more familiar, like
It's 10 milligrams.
10 milligrams a day. So 10 milligrams a day, you think it's for a person who has these issues, it's more than enough one time a day?
Yeah,
And for how long? Forever or just for some period?
It depends of if it's work.
You check it, blood and everything, yeah?
We do, but once again, if this stuff works, the person will, almost guarantee if it does work that he will come in 2 weeks and say, "Doc, I feel much better, thank you."
And that's all, and stop taking it, or will say,
No,
I need more?
you have to continue.
I need
You
more,
have to
okay.
continue, yeah. But that's quite easy. You don't even not necessarily
Feel much better, healthier, less fatigue,
Yeah,
and
thyroid hormone is
better
something that works
work,
very
etc.
fast.
etc.
Very fast. They usually stop losing weight, cholesterol goes down, they can do their chores and feel at work much better.
It helps with cholesterol too?
Yeah, because low thyroid brings cholesterol up.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, and you want to keep your thyroid on the high side, not on the low. Like everything, you don't want to keep your credit card when it's almost exhausted, right? You want to make sure that the balance is low, right? Same thing but opposite, so there is enough money on it. You have plenty of money on your credit card. You don't want to have a few dollars on the credit card, because if you need to buy something, you won't be able to do that. The same thing is here. You want to keep it high, you don't want to keep it low.
So, but you're saying if you eat this, you don't, if you take this, you don't need any more seafood. That's what you're saying?
That's, yes, I don't
Yes?
think that it's quite simple. Because we need seafood not only for iodine. We need seafood for different reasons. The question is the safety. That's the thing it is. And when you buy seafood, you always think about.
Yeah, we need to look what we buy and what kind of seafood. Should be fresh, should be, I know, not big like you're saying.
No, you need to make sure that there is not enough, there is not that much mercury in it. And because if you get mercury, you'd better, take supplements, iodine supplements that get fish with mercury. But you do need fish, in my understanding, in order to get enough omega-3 fatty acids.
When you're talking about seafood, all kinds of seafood, or like you're talking about fish, or you can everything, like, like calamar, like shrimps, like, like all kinds of catfish and everything.
No, catfish is one of the safest.
Yeah?
Catfish is one of the safest, yeah, that's one of the best, okay? So shrimp, I don't know exactly.
Oysters, whatever.
Oysters, I think it is okay. At least I've never heard that oysters were a significant source of mercury or something.
It's all seafood, that's why I'm listing some of them.
Yeah, no, oysters are, I love oysters. The thing is that you need to eat it raw, and that's the best way to eat.
And sometimes I ask you in a restaurant, do you want it to be cooked or you want, usually people say, oh, I want it cooked.
No, that's
You're saying no.
No, that's the oysters. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you want to cook oysters, you do it very simple. You just chuck it, open chocolate, and just put a little bit of lemon juice, and that's it.
That's all.
That's the best way to eat it. As soon as you meddle with this, as soon as you change, put some kind of stuff, the oyster is good on themselves. So there's a few drops of a little bit of oil
What about lobsters? Does it have anything to do with what you're talking about?
I'm sorry?
Lobsters.
Lobsters, what are you talking about?
Iodine.
Not that much, but still it's a good way to get it if it's clean, and I love oysters a lot. Not oysters,
Lobsters.
I'm sorry, lobsters.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the thing is, it's just...
They just shouldn't be too big, they should be smaller.
Yes, small is always better, and they should not be overcooked, because somebody has put this on a grill, it's just not the way it is. And
so let's sum up everything we discussed. Number one, of course, you're always proponent of the healthy lifestyle and healthy food, and like you're always saying that it's not enough good food in our oil because it's exhausted oil already.
soil, yes.
Soil, sorry. And like you recommend iodine because it's a good supplement, especially for people who have some issues with not enough thyroid, correct?
Yeah, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's a good way to supplement, but what I want to tell you is just you need to keep your thyroid optimum, optimum health, because what they say, your thyroid is fine. Yes, it is, but how do you want it to function, like 18-year-old or 75-year-old?
And you're easily checking thyroid levels in here, yeah?
It is not that simple. Because once again, what might happen is that the receptor site for thyroid hormone can be blocked by the hormone so-called reverse T3. And in this particular situation, all thyroid hormones are perfect. But
You're using too many medical terminology, but I want to make it more simple. So it's not easy to diagnose whether the level
because the thyroid hormones, the numbers, can be perfect. Listen, I worked in emergency room for quite a while.
I know.
Okay, and very common situation in emergency room when all the labs are normal but the patient is dying.
I know from my own father example. The doctors told me now everything is okay. You see everything is fine, and the next day he passed away.
I'm
That
sorry
was
to hear
by the day on the day when they said, oh, treatment was good, effective, everything was okay now. We're so grateful, everything was said. So like when he's gonna be, they said like wait a little bit more, but for now we're not doing any treatment anymore. Everything is fine. And that was Thursday, he passed away on Friday. So
that's why for me, what is the most important thing is not the numbers. What I see and what the patient's telling me. That's the most important. I don't treat numbers. You know what they say, treating the lab. That's what I don't do.
I know you, like, listen, I would not talk to you and I would not praise you publicly everywhere if I would not know that you're taking everything very seriously, very professionally, and before you give any advice or medical advice or any treatment, you check everything. You're very good at diagnosing the problem, like blood tests, all kinds of tests,
you need to see a patient.
What's going on.
First is the patient, not the blood test, not the x-rays. Patient and patient and patient again. That's what I'm looking for.
And I'm not talking about intuition, probably because of your experience and like what you did in hospitals and there and here in America and your office, everywhere. It taught you something that you're now using to the best of your abilities. That's why many of your patients are very grateful.
So basically the bottom line is very simple. If a patient comes to me with low thyroid, the first thing I want to make sure that this person has enough iodine to make it before giving him drugs. And that's what I think makes sense.
Again, this saves lives. This saves your health, so very, very important.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. Thanks.